The Flyin Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flyin Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
Soccer is my favorite sport now.
Jersey swap.
Car of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Flyin Lion Podcast. We are here on an up week as FC Cincinnati got a huge 2-1 victory over Nashville away. Sam, how are we feeling about this game and overall vibes?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. Obviously, first half's just, once again, aren't our thing. But we got 3 points away. It's exactly what we were looking for, right? Coming into this match in Nashville. You know, we were not wanting to settle for a draw, right? Because we had not yet gotten points, you know, during your on and away match, right? So this is our chance to kind of turn the tides on the whole season, not just away, but also home as well. So glad we could get 3 points and be at home, you know, this weekend again.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy if you look back. Last year we had, honestly, a really good record on the road. And for how up and down of a season, like that was the one thing that stood out for me. And then this year, you know, 2 games so far and 2 losses. So you come into this Nashville game and you kind of feel like you needed it in a lot of ways and to build some momentum. So honestly, great result. We'll talk about this one in further depth. Sam and I are both rocking our orange different kit for Sam and a t-shirt for me, FC Cincinnati kit. But I think the orange embodies the brightness in the FC Cincinnati fan base after this one. So we'll talk about that game second half of the episode. We got some cards of the week, jersey swaps like typical. We'll talk a little bit about some added pieces potentially coming into the squad, possible third kits coming to FC Cincinnati at some point, and then FC Cincinnati 2, and then we'll do another match day preview. Like Sam mentioned, we have a game on Saturday. So jumping into match day number 6 against Nashville away. It was a 2-1 win, and this makes us now 3-2-1 overall. That's easy to announce that one. But for all the talk, Sam, it was not as heavily attended of a match for being away. But hey, you know the traveling supporters for FC Cincinnati, they're always there. They're always loud. We heard it after the goals. We heard it at the end of the game. Shout out to the supporters and everyone who made that travel down there. I got to make it down to Nashville at some point. But awesome to see for our fan standpoint, for their side. 25,640 was the announced attendance, Sam, but that did not seem to be accurate.
Yeah, no shot. If that was the case, then most of the people were watching from the concourse, right? And frankly, we did not see that many people. We saw a lot of different colored seats, right? Is what you get when you go to Nashville. But that's a fudge number without a doubt.
That number is the bought tickets, probably.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's got to be. It's got to be the bought ticket amount, and then the people that actually show up. So a lot of people didn't show up. I went and looked. I think Nashville Predators had a game that night as well. They did terrible this season. They're like, I think, second bottom in the East in their conference. So it's kind of funny, like nobody's showing up for this game. And it was nice weather too. You know, it was a warm night there too. And for all the talk, you know, the background, the back and forth, for those who aren't familiar with all this talk about, you know, this rivalry narrative, the announcers somehow had slipped their, you know, number into that too. I think throughout the game, I was just over it. I was like, please stop talking about and pushing this.
Yeah, it's not a rivalry.
At nauseum. It's not a rivalry. Everyone wants to say, you know, this and that. It's really one-sided.
I want a commentator to get it right and be like, yeah, you know, Nashville has been trying to force this rivalry for years.
Yeah, for real.
And then you hear it and you'll go, oh, yes, finally, like a commentator.
And they're
knows
all
what
like, well, all of you guys responding makes it seem like this is important to you. And it's like, well, you're the ones that are pushing it out. We're just defending ourselves and saying like,
yeah,
this is why we don't care. So it's funny, but you see the attendance. You see, again, that our supporters are there always and show up well in Nashville. I think that was really cool. But we had a strong lineup, Sam. If we look at it, we had Roman, we had Engel, Flores, Robinson, Hagelin. Yedlin, Buka, Obi, Orshano, Evander, and Sergio Santos once again up top. Kubo is not available for this one. Hadebe possibly still out of the country getting his green card. And then we do see a Kevin Danke sub at half. Otherwise, pretty solid. It was good to see. Hagelin was back in there. There was a little bit of some concern after last match. Did he push it too much, in his comeback from injury? So you see him for a half. You get Miles Robinson, not a flu game, but after his flu. And then Flores comes back in after his suspension. But initial thoughts of the lineup that you saw?
Yeah, obviously lineup looks really good. I know you and I were texting back and forth about Santos being up top, and wondering if we could get, maybe even like a Corey Baird up top, or, a call for, I don't know, maybe Orshano with somebody up top. So that way we could get some more production from that position. I feel like, you and I have felt like Santos really hasn't brought too much production. Obviously, we know how much of a locker room guy he is, and, how crucial he is on that side. But yeah, I think other than that, I think Hadebe, like you said, he's still in Zimbabwe. I think he put out an Instagram story the other day of him at a local soccer game. So yeah, a couple of the players, obviously Ryan, coming into this match, I think, throughout the season, there's been this lingering leg injury, right? Problem, cramps. Like, what do you make of that too?
Well, I want to touch on your point about Santos and what we talked about. I do want to shout him out because I did feel like, honestly, in the first half, he didn't do half bad for at least part of the half. I felt like he was involved. He had some balls over the top that were pretty decent. So he wasn't terrible, but still didn't get that full production, if you're going to start in that striker spot. But yeah, to the point of, are we concerned? Yeah, there's been a lot of lower leg injuries, cramps. Obviously, we've played a lot of matches in a shorter amount of time. But it comes a point where you have to question, Robinson comes out of the Charlotte game early. Is that turf? Possibly. Then you have an illness, and then he comes out of this one early. Obi comes out early, in this one and is grabbing like at his hamstring. I think if Hadebe was back in the States, Pat had commented that Hadebe had a recent hamstring injury too. And then in preseason, you had Dotto, and then you currently have Kubo with a lower leg problem too. So it's a trend. It's kind of like looking at the Reds, I hate to say recently, is the last few years, there's been a lot of injuries. But early on, I wonder, I don't know, I can speculate. There was a shift in some of the training staff in the people, getting all of our players fit from last year, about mid-season. We brought in a new guy. I doubt that's like a sole reason to why, this stuff's kind of fluky. It goes in streaks. We've been on the bad end of, unfortunately, injuries since 2023. General, yeah. 2023 was solid. We hardly had any injuries. 2024 just hit us like crazy. And then this year we've just seen, kind of these lingering type problems. I'm hoping that they're more just kind of here and there. You give them a little bit of a break and they're back, and it doesn't become a longer thing. So maybe there's more emphasis on, hey, if you start to feel something, don't push it. We have guys, we have more bodies. So maybe that's why Obi, maybe that's why Miles has been a little bit more cautious about that. As soon as you feel something tighten up, like, let us know. And we're not willing to risk it. We don't want it to turn into, 3 months instead of 2 or 3 weeks. So that's my thoughts. Anything that you could say on that?
No, I mean, it's more your expertise than mine. So, I mean, I trust you on all the PT side, PA side. You've got it all covered.
Yeah, just the thing that we wanted to point out, as we looked at who is available and the recent kind of trend, especially after this game. But I felt like, Sam, to start this match, we did control a solid first 8 minutes. If there was a complaint early on this season, I know you touched on the first half problems. We hadn't scored a single goal in the first half in MLS play to start the season until this match. But the first 8 minutes were solid. We came out with a little bit more energy, which you hadn't seen in the last several away matches. And we created a lot of chances. I think, ones that come to mind, Orishano had one on goal. Not that they were like deadly chances, but it was more creation. It was more fluidity in the attack. We just hadn't really seen it as much. And I think hopefully it was a good message by Pat, and they came out fairly strong.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, first 8 minutes were looking good. Unfortunately, from then until, we score later in the half, there's not much. I mean, you and I were texting back and forth about, Flores just he gave the ball away probably 4, 5, 6 times, like within the first maybe like a 10-minute span. And some of those were long balls that he just, has to get rid of due to pressure, which understandable, but there were others that were just clear mistakes. Him and Engel were not on the same page. So led to a Hani Mukhtar chance, hits off the post, get lucky there. Which he was wide open on the back post. So
This
get
guy's in
very
a
lucky there.
bad run of form, man. I mean, for like you said, a wide open shot hits the post and then misses his PK later on. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad about it for sure from our standpoint, but yeah, Flores and Engel together. I don't know if we had really seen that besides Charlotte, and then even that game, it wasn't a fantastic look. So we do go with the 5 back in this game, and you're wondering, does that help with anything? I think there's still some communication things to be worked out. More about, how do we build out of the back? Are we still willing to build out of the back? There was a lot of moments like you had kind of touched on where we played the ball over the top. I think with more trying to get Santos on the front foot, he can outrun a lot of these defenders. But yeah, I think a lot of balls still in the first, what would you say, 6 games that or easy passes that just seem to be a little lackadaisical and get turned over, especially in crucial moments. I think you see, okay, if Flores gives the ball away in the attacking side, like not a huge deal unless we're in transition. But if you're on your side and you give the ball away easily and they're coming right down your throat again, like that doesn't help anyone, especially with a defense that's trying to work a lot out. So, yeah, I think that could be better. Between then Sam and then Nashville's goal, we did have a missed back pass potentially on Nashville. There was like a deflection into the box. The guy kind of hits it. I don't know. It doesn't at least seem to me like it was intentional, but the keeper picks it up pretty intentionally. So I don't know. In that moment, I think you had put it perfectly, is I don't know if you can go back and overturn that, in terms of like having it be
VAR, yeah.
Yeah, like a conclusive thing. And even in the moment, like he just kind of brushed it away real fast. But everyone watching, I think, was like,
It was kind of what was that? Are we gonna?
What's crazy is like, you see like if that would have been a PK and then later on how soft an actual PK was, it's like, man, it definitely could have been. But we don't capitalize, on a few moments, and then Nashville just kind of kept the pedal down. I think their wingers created a lot. They went at angle. They honestly just played fast, and it was hard for our defense to kind of keep track of things. And in the 39th minute, I think a problem that we've had this season, starting even in Champions Cup, is balls that are out wide that are played into the box, either finding someone to mark. We had seen it with Adnan early on. We've seen it when a few other moments with Tigres, not heading the ball away. And Nick tries to dive to clear this ball. I think if he doesn't get there at all, it's still a goal. So he tries to just get anything on it. It falls right to their defender, who, again, I think had scored 2 games in a row now. And he just hits one into the top corner past Roman. It's kind of more of a reaction save if Roman's going to make one there. So that's a little bit tough to save, but they go ahead again. We're down 1-0 in the first half without a real solid chance to say we've done anything.
Yeah, I know it's a little unfortunate. Honestly, just he took that well. It was a good finish. And not much Roman, like you said, couldn't really do with that. Guys need to step up in front of the balls more for those crosses, need to get out further. I think that's what we've also seen this year is not being able to rush the crosser, right? More just sitting back, like you said, being lackadaisical, and just, somebody behind me will get it, no problem. So, but, once again, it's one of those things where you're like, all right, now we got to come back and hopefully we can score in the first half because we haven't all season. So you're almost, as an FC Cincinnati fan at that point, you're almost thinking like, all right, well, hopefully we go into half and Pat gives one of those great speeches and we come out good in the second half. Like we're already thinking about halftime in the 39th minute.
It's deflating. I think going down, especially on the road like that, it's always tough, especially in the MLS. And I think you made a great point about stepping to the ball. I always call for players, don't let them cross it in, especially at that level, because they can pretty much put it, right on the head of the attacker. And you had Sam Surridge, who historically has been a pretty solid player in the box with headers and poaching. So I would love to see a little bit more pressure with the wing backs when they're having the ball and wanting to cross it in. I made this point. I went to look at our record, in the first half of the season and how many goals. But Sam, we had gone down again, including this game, for the first 4 out of 6 games in MLS play this year, which is tough to come back and win. Like, it's shown some grit that we've been able to do so and get results like last match against Atlanta. But 4 out of 6 is not a great record to go down first.
No, absolutely not. And, luckily we've got superheroes to dig us out. 43rd minute, Ryan Evander once again steps up, stunner of a free kick, top bins, as we like to say, right? Definitely, 25 plus yards out. Took like a slight deflection off of the wall there, but incredible accuracy once again, 2 games in a row here.
Yeah, it was pretty phenomenal. I think when you look at Orishano and Evander, it's tough to pick, in these spots. And obviously you're going to go with the hot foot, in the moment. But Evander's track record precedes itself. I talked about it last episode. Go back and look at that. I mean, he's had so many free kick goals. But I thought, it does take a slight deflection. It still doesn't matter. The ball's hit so well. There's nothing the keeper can do. And I think is actually up for goal of the week right now, and he's leading with
it won.
48%.
Yeah, I think it's up by like 20%. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully, that would be nice to get a goal of the week, for this year to start. But I was impressed. I think that man, you had me off track on the free kick part of things. I think that my favorite quote was Roman, had said basically every time there's a free kick from outside the box, it's like a PK. Like, it is essentially what he says. He's like, the guy just has so much confidence on, hitting those from long distance. It's almost like a cheat code. And it's true. I mean, he's just got incredible accuracy. He had a video, if you guys hopefully can see it by the time you're listening, he had a video on his Instagram today of him taking free kicks over and over in training ahead of the season. And they transitioned to the one in Nashville of him hitting it, and was the same exact one, probably from the same location. He's deadly from outside. I want to see it from the run of play now too. And he almost had it, I think, wasn't it, against Charlotte? Or maybe that was a free kick as well. He would have had probably 3 out of the last, would have been 3 out of 3 actually. Would have been 3 out of the last 3 games if that one went in. It hit the inside of the crossbar and went out. But yeah, incredible accuracy, placement. I mean, it's that Brazilian flair of like, you can typically see it when he takes guys one-on-one. I think you saw that. He did another move behind his back as well, but it's deadly. It's hard to defend too. If you think about what things can throw off this player, like for PKs, there's things that the keeper does, but on a free kick, like, you just gotta like hope and pray that you can get something on it, because you don't really see it until the last moment. It's impressive, and it was nice going into half feeling like, all right, we're back in this.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, after their goal, you're thinking, oh, geez, here we go. And we get saved once again. And luckily this time it's saved going into half. So that way you're like, oh, okay, like we got saved. We're not playing our best ball, and we get a break to kind of figure things out. Second half is definitely going to be better. Unfortunately, starts off on the wrong side of things immediately.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were calling for Denke to come in, and he comes in and almost immediately, corner kick for Nashville. And Denke, in my opinion, is a very soft PK is called against him. My initial thought is like, guys do this all the time. You see a lot of contact there. Yes, like, is it a foul? It's probably a foul, but like, it never gets called in that moment. There's so many guys jostling around. Does, Zimmerman beat him and he has to kind of grab hold of him a little bit? Again, you see jersey tugs, you see all this happen. I think Zimmerman sells it a little bit, and it comes back to Hahnemann then, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. But yeah, I think I was pretty honestly deflated, because again, tied at the half. We're feeling like, all right, Denke is out here. We're going to start to dominate. And you get this to go against you. But man, did Roman have an answer, Sam. What did you see in this PK save?
What a huge save from Roman. I know, in the past we've kind of given him a lot of crap for not being the best PK saver. And I don't know if you saw his interview after the game, but he was like, yeah, kind of woke up this morning and before the game, I was, thinking if, I had to defend a PK, I just felt like they were going left.
Well, and he said if you saw it too, he touches on how Hani likes to hit the ball with pace.
Yeah.
And so, for keepers, if you dive, like you dive in, the ball's either like saved on like a very hard shot, or I think they touched on it right before he hit it. He had a Panenka right before the PK.
Yeah, they
he had
did. Yeah,
before.
they did that.
And for those who aren't familiar, that's the one where you just chip it right down the middle. It's a very soft shot. And I think Hani's missed like 4 of 6 PKs or something like that. But Roman did his research. He has an unbelievable save. And I felt like that was the turning point in terms of like
huge
vibes. He got the guys going, which like we normally have, again, Miazga or somebody that pumps everyone up in the team. And Roman was just electric. But then he punches the ball out and it's a corner, Sam. And this corner plays out where they play this ball back into the back post. Of course, none of our guys are, again, marking for this. Again, nobody steps to the crosser like we talked about. And it's a point-blank save by Roman, followed by one on his knees, point-blank. So a double save
using the post,
right after a PK save. An unbelievable moment. Unbelievable, 30 seconds for him. And it saved us in terms of keeping us in the game.
He's just grabbing the ball, yelling at the top of his lungs, like "Let's go!" Like among other things, I'm sure.
Well, he got fouled on the play too.
He did. Yeah,
yeah, it was unreal. I mean, he won
Incredible.
The MLS Save of the Year in 2023.
Oh yeah, this is
Save of the Year material
top save so far. Yeah, got to be top.
You got to add
so
maybe the sequence with the PK and then the double save, just for context of it. But I felt like from there it pushed us, to at least have a little bit more confidence that, hey, we're not totally, out of this. We're not down. It's still tied. We can do something about this. We do get some subs that come in, and I would say, especially with Obi going down, having Anunga step up against his old team. That was like a secondary.
He was getting
headline.
Physical with his old teammates.
Yeah, I think him and Hani are close, and they were not close on the field. I mean, it was great. And then you have Miles goes down, and you're thinking, oh shoot, here we go again. And Powell comes in that setting, and we kind of had a makeshift back line with Hagelin being out, So Engel slides in, Brad Smith goes out wide, and then we get Baird that comes in. I mean, it was just such a mix of players, and you're feeling not fantastic, at least about like but
you're like, we're getting a point right now.
I was just hoping, man, like a result, coming out of this away game in 89th minute. This ball by Evander played over the top is beautiful because it gives Baird a chance to try to go after it. I think Zimmerman does get at least some part of his arm on it. He got big, and I think that's eventually, what the explanation is it was kind of in an unnatural position that blocked the path of what could have happened. And is it a little harsh? No, compared to what we had seen called in the first part of the second half and that PK, it's like, come on. But yeah, I was happy to see Denke step up, and he buries it on a stutter step. What are your thoughts on the stutter step, Sam?
Yeah, I know everybody's up in arms about it on Twitter, across the MLS, and FC Cincinnati got away with one there, but I don't know. I know this specific penalty, it kind of did look more like a pause rather than a stutter. However, as long as you can do like whatever you want up until you hit that ball, you can do a backflip, you can somersault, whatever you want, as long as you continue your momentum towards the ball, right? You can do that. Right. So that's where it comes into question. But I know I was doing some research on this specific, right? And actually, fun fact, the stutter step started back with Pele. So he actually was one of the ones who started doing a little stutter step before PK. But briefly, or I guess recently, you saw the rise of it in the 2024 Euros. It seemed like every penalty that was being taken was with the stutter step. So I'm sure this is, coming. It is becoming more popular because it throws the goalkeeper off, right?
Right.
Naturally. But
Well, yeah, the rhythm of it. If they just
yeah,
dive right
exactly.
away,
But is it a pause or is it a stutter? I think that's just the biggest
sure.
inclination there.
I think it's better than the slow run up. I hate the slow run up on PKs. Like that's just hard to watch because then it's like, all
Was
right,
it Paul
can we
Pogba
get
that
on
used to
with
do
it?
that, right?
I honestly, if you go back and watch this, Sam, I don't think that Denke hears the initial whistle because you see him look over at the ref. So whether that was to at least like turn his head so that the keeper doesn't read where his eyes are, because a lot of times that's what they'll look for, either the body way on does he open his body up or does he close it to say is he going one way or the other, or they just kind of track the eyes and you see him turn over to the ref at the last second before he goes, and I don't know if that throws off some of what the keeper was thinking, but he buries it. We get a 2-1 win. Say what you will about it. A win's a win. Again, like
Yes, sir. 3
scrapping
points.
through, pulling through 3 points on the road for the first time this year is huge. Some overall impressions, Sam. This puts us at 8th in the East with 10 points, but as you mentioned, it could be as high as 5th if it wasn't for the goal differential. But yeah, I'm happy. Obviously, this is the first win that we've had against Nashville since 2023. So good to get back against them. Undefeated at Geodis Park down there, which is kind of huge. Like if we can talk about, all right, for all this talk, if you want to say it's a rivalry, this or that, well, it doesn't seem very back and forth. If one team's
defend your home
dominating.
there.
So
You and your imaginary attendance there.
yeah, man. Back-to-back games for long-distance free kick goals from Evander. Is this more to come? I know we put out a poll, Evander versus Orishano on the free kick battle. Recency bias is true. 91% says Evander, but don't you guys forget that Orishano had the longest free kick goal in MLS history last
so
year.
how about this? We'll do free kicks from inside the half, go to Evander.
All right, fair.
And
Yeah.
on the opposing team's half, we'll give it to Orishano. Fair?
Yeah, fair. Orishano attempted another one from beyond half field in this game. If you saw
He
that,
did,
it wasn't a free kick, but it was a long shot. He just loves to try to keep the keeper honest, which is funny. But if we look at recent trends of things, Evander now has 4 MLS goals, 1 assist in 6 matches. Him and Roman were team of the match day for match day 6. Roman's first since 2023, and Evander's second consecutive one. Like I said last week, more of that to come for him. So I'm glad I was right about that. But yeah, definitely happy to see this. I think, Sam, you had pointed this out when you had texted me, but Kevin Denke has now scored game-winning goals in all 4 of FC Cincinnati's wins this year, including in Champions Cup. So pretty cool to see, but the vibes are high. We're rolling along. Hopefully this catapults us. If we kind of look, we'll talk in a little bit of a preview later, but we're through a harder stretch. Obviously the beginning of the year is tough because of multiple competitions, but because of who we played. And you don't always know right away how good these teams are going to be. You can hear previews all you want. We talked about what we thought we would do, and I knew our start would be kind of slow. But if you look at Charlotte has been good this year. Atlanta has been pretty good this year. Philly obviously has been massive. And then Nashville had been pretty decent too. So it's a tougher start for us. If you look on schedule-wise, we're starting to now move towards a little bit of an easier stretch. And again, we'll touch on that by the end of the episode. But before we go to a break, Sam, I want to hear a trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV.
Yeah, I got you. So, like you said, trivia of the week presented by Goals TV. Ryan, FC Cincinnati is tied with Orlando City for the most free kicks in the MLS with 2 this season. FC Cincinnati led the MLS in free kicks for the 2024 season. How many did they have?
Free kick goals.
Yes.
In 2024. They had, I'm going to say 4. I'm going to go with 4. Yeah.
All right. He's
Can
locking it
I
in.
lock it in? I think
you
it was,
lock it in.
yeah, 4, but I think Lucho had 1, and then I think Orishano's my other 3. That's what I'm going to lock in.
Okay. He locks it in with 4, and we'll see what it is on the other side.
Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the blood orange spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code Flyin Lion at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink.
Welcome back, everyone. We are happy to be with you guys talking a little bit of FC Cincinnati soccer on an up week for the first team. Good to see them back in the win column in the MLS, especially on the road, and hope this is a sign of things to come. We want to touch on our jersey swaps of the week, some positive notes that we saw over a few players. Sam, who'd you have?
Yeah, I mean, jersey swap for me is easy on this end. I'm gonna go with Evander. Once again, Evander netted free kick goal, second straight match for FC Cincinnati. He actually tied for the most chances created in the game with 4. Actually had the most recoveries from an FC Cincinnati outfield player in this match with 7. So his goal, like Ryan had previously stated, is probably going to win goal of the match day. And, shout out to him for also receiving his second straight team of the match day. He continues to bring FC Cincinnati back into these games, showing his quality. So obviously, recently we've seen all the individual efforts from FC Cincinnati players, Denke, Evander, Buka, Celentano now. Now we need to all put it together as a team, and we can continue to get 3 points away and home.
Yeah, he's showing up more consistently is exactly what we had been calling for. And he's starting to kind of hit form. I think that's maybe a little bit more familiarity with the club, but honestly, it's just individual moments of brilliance. If you look at both free kicks and just what it means in that moment, you have those opportunities to score from that distance. I felt like it was a little bit further away, outside of the 18 than even his last one. And it's just so deadly. So I'm happy to see him contribute so much.
I do have a question for you. So I know last week, I think I posed a similar question, but now that he has scored 2 free kick goals and we've seen back-to-back consistent games from him taking the lead, being, our Superman, do you think he plays better when Kevin Denke isn't playing?
That's a tough question. I think that
just because like the reason I asked that is because I think with Kevin Denke, obviously he's a club record signing, right, and he is, when we signed him, it was like, oh, he's the guy. In the media, Evander's going, hey, do your thing, I'll assist you, no problem. But obviously, coming off the season he did, Evander's got to be like, hey, I can score goals too. If you need me to take over, I will absolutely take over. But if you want this to be the guy, then I'll help him become the guy.
It just speaks on like his just being selfless, and just understanding that you want to get your striker going because it's only going to benefit you in the end. And I think, like, obviously free kicks are outside of the run of play. If we're talking purely in the run of play, like Evander drifts out a little bit more wide on the left. We've seen that, over several games now. How does he connect with, Denke up top is the question. So I wouldn't say like necessarily he's worse, but he rises to the occasion more in that setting because he feels like he's.
I think he just. That he knows his role when Denke's not there. Like he knows he's got to step up for the team. He still needs to figure out what his role is when Denke is on the field, and vice versa.
And what's crazy is, like, if you think about, I think we said 4 goals. Did he have 3 actually in that Moss play, or is it 4?
I think he's got 4.
Philly was his first one, right? And then he had 2 last week. Yeah, so 4 total now. But if it's crazy. If Denke doesn't have his 2 PKs, then Evander could have 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like top of I think up there, towards the top of
I
Golden
think he'd be
Boot
top. Yeah, you'd be tied with Philly.
with Baribo, right?
Baribo.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it just touches on like how I think Evander looks at more of like how this affects the team long term than individual accolades, which hasn't always been true, we will just say. But yeah, no, good question to kind of pose there. We can talk a little bit more in detail about that as we go on. But my jersey swap of the week, Roman Celentano, man, what a career match for him. This one's going to stand out for a long time for a lot of people. He had a career high 7 saves, including his first in-match penalty kick save since September 17th of 2022 against Real Salt Lake. And I just felt like this dude stood on his head tonight. I would love that keeper kit that he's rocking this year. So Roman's going to be my jersey swap, and hope this turns into a nice run of form for him too. He's been a great shot stopper, and we know that, and he turned out in a big moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he stood out. I think, after this, it was another statement by Roman going like, "Hey, I'm still one of the best shot stoppers in the MLS." And I think you saw after the match a lot of those conversations come back up of like, how have European teams or other teams around the world not really seen this guy, right? I know from our standpoint, we know why. His distribution still is not there what it needs to be. However, shot stopper, he could be there. So nice to see him rise to the occasion. I believe career high or tied his career high with 7 saves in the match. So pretty impressive on that end as well.
Yeah, and honestly, like even from like a morale standpoint and just getting his guys together, I saw him dictate the back line a lot more in this match.
Yeah, a voice in the back.
Just commanding people, and after the play and the ball goes out for a corner, he's like keeping guys accountable on like, all right, great step, or hey, we need to step up a little bit more. So yeah, great, honestly, game from him, and earns himself a team of the match day. I don't know if do they do like player of the match day anymore? I don't know if they announced that.
They do. Yeah,
He didn't win it though this
was.
week, did he?
No,
It wasn't Roman though.
Mihailovic.
Oh, okay, because he had, I think, 2
Colorado.
goals.
Yeah, 2 goals.
In our hearts, Roman, unbelievable game. I would have obviously said, keeping his team in, PK save like he did, absolutely. On the flip side, we could say that could be like a card of the week, but card of the week for you, Sam.
Yeah, card of the week for me. Obviously, I think you and I were kind of talking before this, like, man, it's tough to complain about stuff these days, especially with us getting 3 points and not much to complain about. But for me, card of the week is going to be something not FC Cincinnati, and that is the fights during and after the LAFC versus San Diego match. If you haven't seen the viral videos, go look on Twitter or pretty much any social media platform, and you'll see the altercations between fans during that match and after that match. Looked like some LAFC fans were a little salty after the loss, but it also looked like during one of the videos that there just wasn't enough security around the LAFC supporter section, and some things got out of hand over there. But I was surprised to see that not many San Diego fans were really coming to other San Diego fans' rescue, considering it was at home for them.
Yeah, good shout. We saw, I think, a fight for the Tigres match at home, up in the Tigres supporters like area. So, couple fights this year. It's not great, obviously, but I don't know if you know the back history to this and maybe why it happened. Obviously, this game was pretty heated, and I think San Diego ends up getting the win at home.
Mm-hmm.
But before the match, it kind of was all over social media. I think some San Diego people were burning some of the LAFC jerseys. Did you see that?
I did not, but that makes complete sense.
So I think some LAFC fans were not very happy about that, and obviously all of this had boiled over into that, and it's not acceptable at all. But yeah, it's terrible to see that happen, especially like if we look at FC Cincinnati games and how family friendly like these games should be and welcoming and for every age group. And like if you have this happening, like, you're less likely to bring your kids if you're a new San Diego fan, and I hate to say, like, I just hope that isn't the trend for them. Because it seems like from all things, I don't know if you watched this game, it was a great atmosphere in San Diego.
Yeah, they've got great atmosphere.
have
Both
great
stadiums,
fans,
LAFC and San Diego,
it's
like
just, I
great
mean,
atmospheres.
is it creating that's more of a rivalry if we want to talk about rivalry. Not that like a fight needs to like create it to be like a rivalry, but obviously like being in the same state and having a lot of history. And I think LA used to take a lot of people from San Diego from their academy, and it's kind of built over into this. You see the jersey thing online, and it's not great for the game in general.
No, not at all. But very interesting. Ryan, what was your car of the week?
So my card of the week for this week was touching on the Club World Cup situation going on with Leon down in Mexico. So for those who aren't familiar, Leon had the Club World Cup spot locked up. They qualified. And then recently it came out that they lost their qualification because they have the same owner group as Pachuca, who is also in the Club World Cup and will be playing in TQL Stadium actually this summer. So they got kicked out, and this opened up this opportunity for LAFC to play. I think it was Club America to see who qualifies, for this amazing competition. I wish that they would consider when the qualification window was possibly an FC Cincinnati who had won the Shield that year. Obviously Columbus fans are going to say they won MLS Cup. But if Miami won and they won the Shield last year, then doesn't that mean during the qualification window? I think Miami is obviously in because they're host city. We all know how fair that is. But yeah, it was interesting to see a team get kicked out of this competition because they had the same owner group and they probably knew that this was a possibility.
Yeah, very, very interesting from that standpoint. Obviously, with now learning, the teams that are going to be vying for it. I know a lot of people, it was funny to look at like, oh, where's FC Cincinnati on the Club World Cup ranking, right? Immediately go to like check it. Not even close. I think we're like 40th or 50th or something like that. So
we were like 17 before, but
yeah, dreams immediately went. I was like, oh, well, I mean, if 40 other teams get eliminated, But yeah, it's very interesting, Ryan. I actually saw early, I think it was in their most recent game, Leon actually, all the players and I believe some of the coaches came out onto the pitch and held a banner that said, "We all want it. Together we defend it." So they're protesting their expulsion from the Club World Cup during the Liga MX game. So I thought that was interesting.
That is fascinating. And like, how does it work on the flip side that like Pachuca has the same ownership, like, and they're not considered? I don't know. Like, how does that work on the other side?
I would think that Pachuca stays above them because they won last year, right?
Yeah.
They won the Champions Cup last year.
That's fair.
So
yeah.
You have that regardless of probably their standing this year, they have that above them. So very interesting like scenario there. I know we see it all the time with, the groups like the City Group and, Red Bulls and all these big conglomerates. I mean, say what it's a longer
Sam,
thing,
FIFA's
right?
gonna FIFA.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always something that's going on with that. We're excited for it though. With all this talk and obviously with the new team even being in it, it doesn't really necessarily affect the teams coming to Cincinnati. It's coming up here in a few months though, and we're excited to have some games to host all of these people from all over the world, hopefully, and their supporters. It was just a very funny scenario.
Yeah.
It was definitely my yellow card of the week there. But on a FC related news, Sam, prior to
signed a new player.
Yeah, welcome Gam. We
Welcome,
acquired
welcome back.
Yeah, $200,000 in general allocation money from trading away an international spot to Real Salt Lake. We did gain an international spot, however, with hopefully Hidebe getting his green card. So to me, this is kind of a no-brainer and a smart move by Chris Albright. I don't know why I said Pat. By Chris
Pat
Albright.
and Chris and the whole team
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, you lose a spot, but you gain it. And in the end, I think now that makes us have two open international spots. We still have some senior roster spots open, I think two of them. And then we have some U22 possibilities, Sam. So when I see this happening, I'm wondering, hey, how can we maximize this? Does it happen now? I think our trade window is open at least until about the middle of April, to at least look within MLS. So I looked right at Noel Buck, who plays midfielder for New England Revolution. It's kind of like who is the guy? Buck Farmer is kind of what Noel Buck reminds me of.
Well, the fact that you're over here going, hey, I looked right at him.
I looked right at
him
Noel
and I
Buck.
said, hey, we want you.
It was the first guy that came to mind because if you guys look at this guy, and for those again who aren't familiar, 19-year-old midfielder from
He's
New
on a
England.
crap team.
He's only played one game this year for them, but is just a phenomenal talent. I mean, he was playing over in England and Southampton for their U21 team last year. Sam, we play New England this coming week. Do we just have Noel Buck just stay at TQL and say, welcome to Cincinnati, buddy? I think it would be a nice depth piece in the midfield, a young player. We had a lot of talk about young players last week and how we can get them more involved. Do you think we would ever look at that? Do you think Noel Buck would say, hey, what's your track record with young players like me and where am I going to fit? I'm not playing with my team now. Am I going to play with you guys? He'd have to beat out Obi. He'd have to beat out Buka. I think if you change to a fullback and you added another midfielder, maybe you can see more of Noel Buck. But I don't know. It was an interesting thing, just a guy that I thought of.
Yeah, so you're saying he already beats out Dotto then?
Just based on that's tough. Good point. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Because if I'm Dotto, I take that real personal.
That's a pretty good slap in the face. Yeah, no, that's true. Noel's more so he's more of an 8 and like a defensive type midfielder than he is like a Dotto being like more attacking minded.
So he's not more like your Pinto coming
kind of in a way. Yeah. I think it would be a nice use of U22, especially from in league. He has done, obviously this year he didn't have many chances, but in years past he's shown some glimpses of really good talent. He had a long goal from last year outside the box. And I think under Bruce Arena, he did solid. So I think if you're Kenny Arena, you go to your dad and you say, what do you think of Noel Buck? Did you like him as a player? I know you probably want him out in San Jose, but a player that I think we should at least look at. I mean, we have these open
obviously
22 spots.
We have the need for it. So, I mean, nice shout there, especially if deadline's coming up here in April for, the inner league trade there. I think obviously if you're Chris, you're looking at all possibilities right now to be able to continue to add talent
depth to the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if Obi's out with an injury right now, as we saw at the end of the game, add more talent. I think that's always a positive. The one thing I wanted to touch on, we had talked a lot about young players last week, but with Steven Jimenez is this guy's on the 18 every week, and I would at least love to see an appearance at some point. Obviously we're playing to win these games. We want to be ahead and we can get this guy in. But if he's not going to play, then put somebody in there that is going to play. In that 18, is he just filling that roster spot? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, he could be just filling it, right? It's
been 2 years in a row now where we've had this guy and he's not even been in an MLS match, maybe one MLS match. So is there more deserving people for the 18? I don't know. I'm posing the question.
I almost when he originally started or not started, but subbed in, right? It was almost like we were just trying to become a metric, that we were just trying to, this is the youngest player to ever play, for FC Cincinnati. And, where does he stack up? It was almost like, hey, this would be really good for social media, so we should put him out there. And then he's been on, the roster ever since. And so he doesn't get minutes with FCC2, does he?
I don't think so either. That's the thing. And he's a first team rostered player, but they can go down for, so many FCC2 games, but
I don't
even see him play there.
Yeah. I don't, right. I mean, there could be something more there, right? Where they're helping him out, right? Keeping him out of a bad situation. There's all these background things, right?
This is our senior roster team, and there's 18 spots for a match day. And this guy's been on the match day every time, but hasn't come in but one time. Posing the question,
phenomenal question. Yes.
Find a solid, Mamba Dem, find another midfielder. Who do we have in the midfield spot that we could slot in, though, is the question. And like, if you sign a U22, I think they take that spot personally. But I just thought it was interesting timing wise, especially with that deadline coming up. Be interesting to watch, so pay attention to that.
Yep.
We had some headlines from Footy Headlines, who does a lot of the kit releases before they're even formally released. But Online had actually said that all MLS teams are rumored to be getting a third kit this season, Sam. We have the blue, we have the white, black kit, orange kit, light blue, USL. We posed the question, we got some responses. I want to hear what you think, and then you can kind of run us through what other people had to say.
Yeah, my initial reaction was, oh, hey, they're finally thinking about all of us. Like, appreciate it. Considering we had been tracking jersey sales for the past like 3 years, right? Going like, oh, like we're so close. Like, look at we're almost right there to be in the running for a third kit. And it looks like everybody's gonna get one possibly. I know there's been mixed messages out there, but if we were to get one, my initial reaction was light blue, or with a royal blue with a light blue, or vice versa. Just because obviously we've noticed the incorporation of light blue more into the warm up kits, or warm up jackets, stuff like that. So that was my initial reaction. I know, Ryan, you and I, for the longest time, we want this black kit. We want it so bad.
Yeah, just give me that Oktoberfest kit. That would be unreal. And especially if we talk about, we had recently mentioned MLS is considering going to a different schedule, and we go to a more of a winter schedule. I think you see third kits happen more often. And do they get a long sleeve kit? And say like, hey, our team's finally allowed to play with that, because I've been missing that. I miss the long sleeve kits too, but
I'm sure the LA teams would love that. They'd complain if they didn't.
Oh my gosh, yeah, right. But I mean, at least give them the
Minnesota.
option. Give them the option to, right? But we had some other responses. So I love the shout for the Cincinnati Silverbacks tribute kit. Like, do something crazy off the walls, different color. I love that reference there. A USL kit, I think, like running it back with possibly an old one from the inaugural season would be kind of cool. An orange kit for an orange out game. I think if you had like more themed games, we saw that a lot in USL, Sam, and we haven't had it in the last season or two. I think maybe early on in TQL, you saw a little bit more of white out, or blue out, whatever. But I would love to see like another like orange out or a color theme night. Would be cool. And then we heard a turquoise shout there too, which would be kind of special. I know they do a lot with like these, recycled kits. Don't they do that for a game?
The pre-match kits.
Yeah. I think even one year they had where, Eastern Conference team had a dark blue and the other ones had like a light blue for like one single match or something like that as well. So hopefully we'll hopefully get some clarification. I would love to have that sooner than later. In talking about kits, I have yet to see, I should say, a ton of Danke kits, a ton of Evander kits. I know last year Lucho was, I think, second in MLS for jersey sales, behind Messi. But do you think we start to see a lot more Dankes, a lot more Evanders? Our stars have been showing out, so I think it's a matter of time.
I hope so. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it just takes them lowering the prices of the damn jersey. Like, geez, oh, Pete's. Like,
yeah, good point.
You're almost paying $200 for a custom jersey there to put the name on the back or something. But
yeah, you're not wrong. But talking about a kit that I would buy, FC Cincinnati too. Their kit is electric. Their team has not been electric. They lost 1-2 at home, unfortunately, against the Chicago Fire 2 team. They did get an opening goal from Andre Chirilla, very similar to his preseason. It was off a cross. He had a nice header on that. Finally got our first goal. We're feeling like New England, but we got to finish it out. They got 2 goals right after that, and the vibes has been a little bit off for FCC2 this year. Again, tons of moving pieces. At some point, they got to start producing. We did sign a new midfielder for FC Cincinnati 2 before the game. It was announced Yamir Okumana comes in from Peru, from Club Sporting Cristal, 19-year-old guy that's on loan. Do we see more loans from some of these South American teams, kind of like a trial run? Let's see how you do with FC Cincinnati too. Is there a future for you, in Next Pro or even beyond? I think that's a nice point because you don't really have to necessarily sign them. You can kind of see how they run. But if you see how they run and then they don't stay, like how much cohesion in the group are you getting? So we might have a little bit
I
of
think
a frustrating run because of that.
Which side are you leaning towards, right? Are you leaning towards,
Sure.
hey, we're strictly FCC2, we're going to develop these guys for the first team, or do you want to win? Do you want to win an MLS Next Pro? And that's what we saw last year.
And
was
Sam,
a
even
cohesive team.
Sure. Well, I was even going to touch on the fact like that our academy is becoming more prevalent within the U.S. soccer space. So get these local guys into Next Pro, in the next few years. That's what I would love to see. I love that we're going into the international market and that is untapped and we can get these young guys before they, hit the attention of some of the other MLS teams. But, at some point it's like we got to develop these guys and bring up our own in our system. And I think that's the next step. I think we had talked about that before as well, but it seems very
I think it
heavy
is
on international this year.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things, like you said, like, hey, let's take a chance on an international here. We'll bring him in, we'll loan him in, see, if the talent is there, like it looks like, or how it was, talked to us about. If not, we've got academy guys that are, right behind him to be able to take that spot. And say it does hit, then FC Cincinnati looks like geniuses because now this loanee is getting a full-time contract with the first team.
Sure.
And you're going, oh, hey, here's the next, wonder kid, right?
It's kind of a way to avoid that huge fee before they're at that level and before they hit a U22 spot even.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're not paying for that premium, even though the roster hit is less with the U22, but still, like, if they're younger, they're 19, they're before they can be ready for the first team. Like, I think that's a nice transition. I think we're utilizing that more than other teams, but I don't follow that many other, MLS teams, at least from like their second team level. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Hopefully FCC too can turn it around for their next several games. There's still fun games to go to, so go check them out. I believe free, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong.
Still free.
Free home games. You can watch them on Apple TV most of the time as well. So more soccer, if you're really into watching any level, I think it's great to support these guys. But as we look at the first team again, match day number 7 is coming up against New England at home this Saturday. Back at TQL where we are undefeated this year in all competitions, which is nice. Again, we've talked about it. Turning it into 2023 vibes. And so if we look at New England historically, Sam, it's kind of interesting. New England obviously has not been great. And this year, everyone knows about it. Somehow Caleb Porter is still there. They're 13th in the East, but unfortunately we are only 1-1-3 against them in the last 5 games, which is kind of surprising. They did have a good run a few years ago, but I was a little shocked by that.
Yeah, I mean, I know in the past they've given us a lot of fits, right? And they in the past, once again, they usually are a quality team that is, I mean, middle of the table most of the time, but they'll put up a fight. They're kind of known for kind of losing in those quick or not quick, like close matches, right? Like a 2-1, 1-0, stuff like that. So they actually, they won their last match. So they're coming off of that.
They scored their first goal too.
Yeah, they're looking for some momentum in their season, and unfortunately for them, they're coming to the Fortress, right? We're undefeated at home this season so far, and I mean, hopefully this is a stamp that we can put on, our record against them, going, hey, from here on out, it's going to be something different.
Yeah, you got to play. Even the competition might not be as great on paper, but you still got to go out and show it. It's the MLS, and anything can happen in soccer in a moment. We've seen that countless times, especially in the MLS, half chances and how we can go behind pretty quick. But yeah, I look to see a rejuvenated squad coming off of a big win. The fact that we have a full week to kind of prepare for it as well. The health is the real question, in this one. So Robinson comes out early, Obi comes out early. Kubo's been out. Hidebe's been out. Miazga's, it sounds like a few weeks away still. He's been training kind of spottingly with the first team. It seems like he's going to, I think, starting this week, be a little bit more consistent with training. And then Hagelin, too, how much can he put in? So a lot of this, if you look at it, 4 players out of the 6 that I named are center backs, Sam. So are we talking about another rotated center back squad again with probably Flores, maybe a Powell appearance or an Angle appearance there? It's a question that we've had to kind of monitor every week for the last 3 weeks, I think, just to see. And everyone talks about our defensive woes, but it's just been so rotated that it's hard to be consistent that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously, once again, I think it's just, hey, let's try and duct tape this back line together as much as possible until Miazga gets back, and then we can finally get a glimpse and a grasp of what this back line is going to look like week to week, and not just, can we put this guy here? Can we, shift Angle to a center back position? It has been tough to watch, but obviously,
we've weathered the storm in some ways. Like if you look at Atlanta was a little bit rotated, but came out with a result. Nashville was in some ways a little bit rotated too, and you get a result and you find a way to win. So I look for more of the same. I think of all the games, I've been a little bit more pessimistic with my predictions and just being realistic about things. I think I said like a draw last week. I'm starting to see more of the confidence in what we can do. New England just isn't great, and I'm going to go 3-0 win for FC Cincinnati. Big win, big goals by Evander. I think Orshano is going to shine in this match and really dominate at home. What is your prediction, Sam?
I'm going to go 1-0. I'm going to go a modest 1-0.
Ooh, okay.
I think you could see an early goal, 1-0, right, in the first half, which is saying something for how this season's gone so far. But I'm going to go 1-0. I could see them getting 2-0 if they add one in the second half of hey, it's just a big counterattack goal, but I'm going to go 1-0.
All right. Well, hopefully we get that. I'm excited about this match. Hopefully it's a big crowd for us. But Sam, before we go here, give us our trivia question and answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So to reiterate, FC Cincinnati led the MLS in free kick goals for the 2024 season. How many did they have last season? Ryan said 4, and the answer is 4. They had 4 in 2022. I was actually doing some additional research, Ryan, and FC Cincinnati is tied for second in the MLS since 2022 when Pat Noonan took over. We actually have 6, and we're tied with Inter Miami, but FC Dallas has 7 since 2022, and they have yet to score one this season. So, just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been really hot from the free kick spot, including last season.
Yeah, I mean, an area you can say like more dominant than not. Like if you look at like set pieces, being as like corners, PKs, free kicks. Like free kicks, we dominated. I need a corner goal. I would love a corner goal. We haven't had a corner goal in a year and a half, 2 years maybe. So if Nick Hagelin is out there listening, give me a header goal at home this coming game, bud. From a corner, I would love it. Hopefully, some solid free kicks again by Evander or Orshano. Sam, anything you want to add before we close here?
No, like you said, it's we're great at free kicks, just can't defend them.
True. Yeah. Or the ball is like whipped into the box, but hopefully we're turning the corner. Again, we're really pumped for another game coming up for FCC. We're building on some momentum here. Let's work up the standings. But thanks everyone for listening to our episode. Like, comment, share this podcast with everyone. Go check us out on Goals TV, and we'll be back next week.